Honorable External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar, sir, indeed a privilege to have you in our midst. Friends, just about a week ago, on 1st December, our Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi was in Dubai to participate in the Leaders Summit of COP28. I must say that that day belonged to India. Prime Minister was the only world leader to speak at the ceremonial welcome plenary. Later, when the UAE launched its climate finance framework, PM was accorded the honor of being the first world leader among a select group of leaders to address the gathering. Prime Minister met over 50 world leaders that day. You would have all seen that India has very deftly navigated through choppy geopolitical waters and has still maintained strong relations with major world powers, while at the same time being the undisputed leader of the global south. Today, India's voice is not only heard, but also taken seriously. India is shaping the global narrative. But what explains this phenomenon? What are the fundamental shifts happening in India? As PM calls it, New India, Viksit Bharat. I request Honorable EAM to share his thoughts. Sir, the audience we have professionals from IIMs, IITs, and several campuses in Dubai, sir. BITS Pilani campus, Amity University, Manipal University, and Skyline University. Sir, I request you to also take a few questions after your remarks. Sir, the floor is yours.
Okay. Just a question. If I go down there, is that easier? Would that be a problem for the camera? Sanjay, if I go down here? Very good. So first of all, a very good morning to all of you. And I think as the ambassador was saying, we were here just a week ago. We were here a week ago for the COP, the climate meeting. I'm back here today because at this time of the year, every year, the UAE actually hosts a very important gathering of policy makers and thinkers who discuss this region, who discuss West Asia, Middle East. And right now, because of what is happening, especially in Gaza, obviously that is something which is a situation of great concern. And this meeting for which I came in yesterday, which is carrying on today, is something which is for me a way of connecting with a lot of people who are dealing with the region. Now, if I was not here, but I was in India, I would actually today be participating in a very important event which the Prime Minister would be addressing. It's called the Viksit Bharat Sankalp Yatra. So this is actually an initiative where the progress of the last 10 years, all the schemes, the campaigns, the initiatives of various kinds, they are in a sense being taken to the people to make them understand really how actually the effort has been made to progress the country in the last decade. So you are familiar, each one of you, with each of those campaigns. So probably one which was very early on made famous was Swachh Bharat. Then there was that Beti Padhao, Beti Bachao. There was Digital India. There was Skill India. There was the Awas Yojana, by which actually houses were given to vulnerable low-income people. There was the Anna Yojana, by which every 2/3 of the country gets 5 kilograms of food, which particularly during COVID time was really a lifesaver. There is the Mudra, by which loans are given. A very large proportion of those loans are given to women, who then are actually able to do their business or do something with it which adds to their income. There is a scheme, there is the Jal Jeevan Mission, there is the Saubhagya which connects up electricity. So now what happens is each one is something you have read in the newspaper. Some of you may have experienced, heard about it in some form. But when you connect each one of these, you get a very different picture. That is today the progress in India. And that progress today is actually the basis for greatness tomorrow. That when we speak about Viksit Bharat, it's an aspiration. Prime Minister is very confident, as are all of we, that in the next 25 years, which is your years. So as people who are now entering your professional life, poised to enter your professional life, India will change in these 25 years. And one part of that change, why today we have many more possibilities, an incredibly complicated thing when you think of 1.4 into 2, in fact, eventually into 3. So, and if you look at it, in fact, this idea that you got vaccinated straight away, got a certification which came on your phone, this was very normal. We were one of the first countries, if not the first, to actually do it. So I want really all of you to understand, when we speak about Viksit Bharat, when we speak about New India, when you hear about all these slogans, because you may or may not be beneficiaries, a lot of these are actually, the benefits are going to people who really need it, which is obviously the income level, which is about half to two-thirds the country. But there is another aspect of this change. And that aspect of the change is the moon mission, is the fact that we speak about 5G in telecom. We are today rolling out, the fastest rollout of 5G technology is happening in India, but it is Indian 5G stack. So when you look at the COVID or the Covaxin, when you look at the 5G, when you look at the Chandrayaan, this is also Viksit Bharat in the making. So I feel today that it's important, young people, especially those, many of you live and study abroad, your influence is not just limited to your immediate group or family. You meet others. You shape the thinking of India. When they hear from you in a very natural way what is happening in India, it is something which definitely gives them, in a very sincere way, in a very natural way, a sense of really how is India progressing. And this message of how is India progressing is something which is very important to communicate to the world. We have just completed our presidency of the G20. And in this presidency, what had happened was that, because of the geopolitics, the whole controversy around Ukraine, there was a lot of concern whether we will be able to get everybody together. At the same time, there was also worry that the real agenda of the G20, which was helping growth, development, especially helping countries of the developing world, that had got sidetracked. So again, we today have not only shown an ability to progress at home, we have shown also that India is capable of getting the world at a very difficult, very divisive moment around a table, agree on common, something which is in our common interest. And that too is something which says a lot about India. So what I would like to do, I thought I will just say enough to start you off. I would much rather, hear your issues of interest, and I'd be very, I'll try and do my best in responding. So why don't I stop there and let me open it up. You have a mic?
Thank you, sir. I'm sure there will have a lot of questions. So if I can request you to raise your hands and then be brief in your questions, please introduce yourself. So why don't you start first?
Just pass the mic around.
Good morning, sir. Jai Hind. My name is Samarth Kalpesh Kumar Brambhat, and I am a student of BITS Pilani, Dubai campus. I am an aspiring ISRO scientist too. Sir, India is dealing with a problem of brain drain very much now, right now. And us as NRI students don't get an opportunity to work in India as a government official or maybe as a in a private sector also. We have very limited places where we can work. What are the opportunities for us, and how are you planning to deal with this brain drain problem of India?
You have an Indian passport, no?
Right.
Huh? Okay. Look, first of all, I'm glad that you are interested in the space sector. We were abroad. I was with the Prime Minister when the Chandrayaan when the successful landing happened. And I can't tell you what an impact it made. There was a BRICS summit going on there. So that evening, actually, just like, as Ambassador said, COP was India's day. That BRICS, when Chandrayaan landed, was also India's day. And I think the world is going to see more of India's days in times to come. But so on our way back, Prime Minister decided that he will fly straight into Bengaluru, and he will meet the entirety of the team which was responsible for it. It was a very memorable experience. I was sitting on the side and watching it. But because I had, when I was earlier in my career, when I was Foreign Secretary, I'd been a member of the Space Commission, I'd taken a certain amount of interest in it, which, a lot of people of my generation have done. Some weeks later, I actually went to this institution which the Department of Space runs in Thiruvananthapuram. It's a well-known institution. They basically produce the, it's the educational stream from which many of the ISRO people are recruited. And for me, what was really impressive was there were students who were, who were actually inventing things and applying things which were actually going into space missions. So it wasn't that, you are studying something and one day, young person, when you reach that level, you will also be eligible to be considered. Even when they were studying, they were actually their talent, their ingenuity, their innovation was actually feeding into things. So at one level, I was marveling how much the world had changed, because, when I was a student, this would have been inconceivable. I was also, at another level, also impressed that we were giving that kind of resources and giving that kind of encouragement, really, for this to happen. And to me, that spoke about the self-confidence and actually the new thinking today. When we speak about Viksit Bharat, when we say New India, it isn't just a material progress. People sometimes say, it's all about 8% growth, etc. That's only one part of it. A large part of it is really the deep strengths, the mindset, the innovation, the creativity. How do you energize really a society to think bigger and better? Your question about, if you are NRI, what are the work opportunities? Look, if you hold an Indian passport, you're looking for a work opportunity in India. Nobody is going to treat you this way or that way because you happen to have been living or educated abroad. So the opportunities are there. And my own sense is actually different opportunities are there today. 40, 50 years ago, honestly, people said, okay, you are bright, be a doctor, be an engineer, maybe be a civil servant, Today, there is so much more that there is out there, even education. Each one of these streams has itself become much more multidisciplinary and much more diverse. So I would say, when I look at this 25-year period, this Amritkal period, as I said, this is your era. But it is an era where actually our responsibility is to give you that enabling factors And I'm very confident you will handle it in a very different way, because your education, your mindset, your manner of thinking is actually so much, so much more innovative and different, and so much more questioning than it is for us. So do your best. I'm sure you'll find your right landing. Yeah.
Lady. Yeah.
Good morning, sir.
Okay, she beat you to it. No. Yeah, go ahead, sir.
My name is Ashwati. I'm from Manipal Academy of Higher Education, and I'm a BTech Mechanical Engineering student. And my question to you is, in your vision, how does international education contribute to India's soft power and diplomatic influence as the number of students going for studies in abroad is increasing yearly?
The number of Indian students going abroad is increasing, no question about it. But the number of educational institutions in India is also increasing. In fact, I was looking at numbers as part of a presentation which was being made to the Council of Ministers. I think very, very roughly, the new, if you look at, I'm talking at the college level, if one looks at universities and colleges, they have actually almost doubled in the last 10 years. So our challenge today is to deal with a period where that kind of doubling, which should have been happening regularly, which didn't happen earlier, at least now we start closing that kind of gap. So, so one part of the answer is actually to create more opportunities and access ourselves. But the other part, is also, look, students will go abroad, depending on their means, depending on their family circumstances, depending on their levels of interest. It's very hard. I mean, we are a free society. We are a democracy. We believe in individual choice. So it's not for the government to rigidly prescribe this way or that way. I don't see any value attached to where you study, so long as you get a good education. Now, I think those who have an interest in working in India, even if they study abroad, my sense is many of them come back. I mean, we have at any given time roughly about, I think, 13 lakh Indian students abroad, roughly. I would say a very good number of them come back to work. So I don't, in a sense you use the word brain drain. If we create opportunities in India, if the Indian economy fires up, which it has been doing now, I mean, we just posted 7.6% growth this quarter at a time when the rest of the world is actually struggling to grow, against all the headwinds that we see. So as the opportunities grow, as that sense is the place to go is India. That's where things are happening. My sense is it would happen. I would also say in India, we also are trying today to be more open to international institutions. So international institutions have started, finding ways of coming. These are early days. We have to see how it grows.
Good morning, sir. My name is Shilpa Kumar. I'm studying electrical and electronics engineering here at BITS Pilani, Dubai. So my question is, we as engineers, we understand the importance of collaborations, scientific collaborations, especially on an international level for technological development. But how do you think we can do that, keeping in mind, India's interest and, national security? What do you think our foreign policy on this should be? What are your thoughts?
Today, one of our big goals is to boost manufacturing in India, because unfortunately, after the reforms began in the early 90s, that kind of attention was not given to manufacturing in our country. In fact, there were even people who believed, oh, we are a services economy. But you really cannot be, for a country like India with all the aspirations and ambitions we have, we cannot not be manufacturing, a manufacturing power. So this government in the last decade has actually made huge efforts to create an environment for manufacturing to take place, which has different aspects of it. You may make it easier to do business. You may create better infrastructure logistics. But at the end of the day, the key is the humans involved, the human resources that are necessary, which is why, if you look at the number of engineering schools, for example, they have really increased very, very sharply. But along with that, initiatives like, the whole skilling program, because that is necessary to boost manufacturing, and the encouragement given to startups and to innovation as well. Now, the future, the world is globalized, okay? Today, one of the problems is there is an over-concentration of manufacturing in one location. Now, the COVID showed that makes the entire world very worried, because if supply chains get interrupted, you are dependent. It's a common sense proposition. None of us in our daily lives would want to be dependent on one source. So there is an opening today in the world. The entire world wants more production at more locations with more supply chains. This is today a new opportunity. But along with that, there are also certain areas like, let us say, semiconductors, or even, any kind of today advanced technology. There are some security, as you said, security sensitivities. So what we do in foreign policy today is to see which countries are we comfortable with, where are joint ventures more easily forged. Sometimes there are regulatory requirements that, some countries or some companies cannot share technology with you unless they get the regulator's approval. So a lot of our job in foreign policy today is actually to support people like you and your current or future employers. That how do we make, be part of a value chain, And there is a lot of interest today when I see how much today contract engineering and contract designing is being done in India. The number of MNCs who are shifting their R&D centers to India. So when you look, today, last few years, we've attracted a very large amount of FDI. But it isn't just the headline numbers. When you actually look what is coming into India, a lot of the world is coming to India because there is talent and skill and competitive spirit in India. And that sense of security and that belief that Indians, we honor contracts, we follow the rule of law. So these are factors in the mind. So again, I'm making a pitch to you, which is, India actually has a very bright future here. And if you are an engineer today, that's the place to be.
Thank you, Dr. Jaishankar, for coming in. My name is Ronald Phillip. I'm an IIM Kozhikode alum, and a book, The India Way. It's a brilliant, I think, exposition of your worldview. I had a personal question for you, on which I hope will help all of us on moving from ideas to action. Because rarely in one's life does one get to expound a new set of ideas and worldview. But even harder is getting to implement it. Mm-hmm. And you've managed to do that. I mean, you've managed to shape your ideas, bring them, but also implement that. So can you just talk about your learning from that and the advice to us who might have some ideas for India and, in our lifetimes being able to implement them? Because you've been able to do that very successfully.
Well, in a way, I could say I've been fortunate. But in a way, I could say maybe somewhere, some part of me handled it in a certain way. When I joined the Foreign Service when I was 22. Okay. I did it in a very natural way because I studied international relations. So it started with what you studied is what you practiced. Yeah. And in fact, when I was sitting, I was in two minds to sit for the civil service or not. And my father, who's quite astute, at least where his kids were concerned, he actually simply put this idea saying, look, do you want to keep studying international relations or do you also want to have a shot at doing it? Okay. So he knew which way the answer would be. But what has happened since then, as you practiced it, and this is not just applicable in this job, I would say pretty much any job. Anybody who's doing anything they really, really like, you don't think of it as a job. You don't say, my brain will start working at 9 in the morning and will close at 6 in the evening. It's something which is, if you like it, it's something which is churning in you all the time. And you keep trying, you think about it, you exchange it. It's not even conscious. It's something which is part of you. So then this thing happens, which is you develop ideas about your own line of profession, whatever the line. I mean, you could be a smarter lawyer, you could be a better accountant, you could be a great engineer, a fantastic designer. You're doing your work, but one part of you keeps saying, okay, how do I do better? I mean, in an interesting way, I'm a novice today to my current line of business, politics, okay? So I watch the best in the business, which happens to be the Prime Minister. I keep saying, what makes him different? What makes him different is he's never satisfied with what you got. I mean, you could do the best and he would say, yes, okay, very good. But all the while he's thinking, raise the bar, do more, higher expectation, bigger ambition. Think about it. Could we have done it differently? Could we have done it, more smartly? So it's a kind of, I would say, a drive, and that drive has to have both. You can't have a drive just by doing. You have to have doing, thinking, or thinking, doing in some way, a constant, I would say there's a sort of an auto-correction, self-evaluation. And I think that's really what differentiates the great leaders. And this is how really countries also rise. Because if you can instill this in a mass of people, that if you can make a nation ambitious, a society hungry, and hungry for really doing better, that is really how progress happens. So this is a sort of a small example of one person's effort in one particular line. But I watch it today, all around me. I mean, I look at sports, for example. How, for me, at the end of the day, I'm a competitive person. I like anything which is competitive, and nothing is more competitive than sports. But I look at, how sports works. It's not a game, in that sense. It's serious. It is that striving to do better and analyze, every defeat, every victory. Even victories must be analyzed to see, could I have won better? Or what will I do the next time? So that's kind of the what you see up there in that book.
Mr. Bojani.
Dr. Jaishankar, it was fantastic what we've heard. And first and foremost, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you and the Honorable Prime Minister for helping us all Indians living overseas raise our heads and our profiles, because the positioning that you've done for all of us in India is of Indian origin is fantastic. Taking off from that, I have two questions, I'm sorry, or observations.
I'll give you one answer.
Okay, fine. Okay, then I'll stick to the more critical one, which is dual nationality. Why is India losing the opportunity of letting go? And I'll give the example of one person, as in Ajay Banga. He's got profiles similar to Rajiv or me or others. I'm, by the way, NID Ahmedabad dropout and IIM Bangalore alum. And I've been living in Dubai for 35 years. I've had 3 opportunities to get citizenship here. One 20 years ago, one 4 years ago, and one recently. Recently is last year. And each time the issue was we've had to give up our nationality. There are, I believe, 30 million people of Indian origin all over the world. Going back to the...
So I get the point.
Yeah. Because the next generation, like Ajay's kids, don't think of themselves as Indians.
Sure. No, I get the point. You know, please. I think you have to understand the background, the context in which the nationality or the dual nationality debate unfolded in our country. And it unfolded because if one looked at, you know, we had partition, what was India at, legally speaking, at one point of time, became different countries thereafter. The debate really took a serious form in the 1990s because you had a lot of people go out in larger volumes in the 1980s and early 90s. So it's not like people didn't see the merit of what you're saying. I mean, it's still an ongoing debate in our system. It is that you had to balance off this with the implications of what happens, because dual nationality comes with it's not so easy as just saying people stay connected. There are legal implications, there are economic implications, there are security implications, there are political implications. That if people who live abroad, if they are nationals of other countries, the issue of whether they participate in our political processes or not. Do we want in our political processes, if once you give dual nationality, also people who have other nationalities? So so I would say, I understand why you raised the question. I mean, I must say this is probably the question I encounter most when I go out. It's the one I am able to answer least, because I can only give you the honest answer, which is, it is still something which is a subject of debate. I think as, I'm kind of building in a sense on your question itself. We're going to see tremendous mobility in the years to come. We're going to see mobility for 2 reasons. One, in India itself, as literacy rises, as education increases, as vocational training goes, as professional, as secondary, tertiary institutions increase, the pool of skills and talent in India is going to grow exponentially. Simultaneously, you're going to have actually a big demographic change, which is already in the making in the world. That a very large number of countries are going to see the populations drop precipitously. And it will drop most of all where young people are concerned. And 3, the kind of world we are heading for, the kind of technology which will be in demand. It's very interesting. As technology advances, the need for human beings actually doesn't go down. It's just that they contribute, they are linked in a very different way. So when we speak today of a more technology-centered society, a knowledge economy, it means actually having people, today everything we do has some kind of, knowledge embedded through a chip in whatever we are doing. That's the kind of world we are heading for. And that world is going to see very many more Indians around. So I see this as a live debate. I wish I had a better, more finite answer than the one I'm giving you, but I think one has to wait and watch.
A very good morning to you, sir. Welcome back to the Emirates. I'm Natasha Basu. I'm a 4th-year chemical engineering student studying in BITS Pilani, Dubai. My question to you is, as the world has seen the landing of Chandrayaan-3 on the moon and other big breakthroughs with Indian space research, how do you ensure that India would look into a safe and healthy way of using the planet's outer space with connecting national interests as well as certain international restrictions and constraints?
You know, if you look at India's tradition, in a sense, record, perhaps culture, we actually are, we are intuitively people who are actually quite respectful of nature. We may be very competitive at times, but we generally, follow rules. As I said, it's one country where usually you would say contracts are honored, obligations are kept, etc. I don't think it's in our nature really, and if you look at our history. In our history, even when people have gone out, they didn't go out the way the Westerners and occupy somebody's land, and then say, okay, let me extract as much wealth and bring it back home. Even when Indians went out, to the extent there were, say, Indian empires abroad, these were people who went out, who traded, who settled there, who often intermarried there, who took their culture and traditions with them. So I would say if there is one country in the world, and I grant you I'm biased, okay, if there's one country in the world which when it goes out will actually behave with a great deal of responsibility, care, consideration, I would say our record shows that. So I think the rest of the planet should be assured about India.
Good morning, Dr. Jayashankar. Sir, my name is Tushar Raja. I am a third-year biotech student from BITS Pilani, the Dubai campus, and I have one question for you that's related to diplomacy, because that's something I'm interested in. So from whatever limited knowledge I have...
You're studying engineering?
Yes.
Okay. No, good. Don't let that stop you. I was briefly in IIT before I got into international relations.
Yes, sir. So from whatever limited knowledge I have, what I've understood is that when diplomats go out there, they have one major rule of thumb. It's that whatever personal bias, whatever personal values, views they have to set it aside, because it is their state's values that come first. Have there been any instances throughout your career as a diplomat where you've had this sort of dilemma between your personal values and the state's values? Have they come into conflict, and how have you resolved such dilemmas?
They haven't, but for a very different reason. You see, you start, like any business, you start it from ground up, okay? So first few years, you pinch yourself to say, I'm actually in some form representing India, or I'm part of a team which is representing India, even if you are at the tail end of that team. But just that feeling that, as all my colleagues in any embassy or consulate would have. What happens over a period of time is that responsibility or that honor of representing India abroad, it gets internalized into everything that you think and you do. You conduct yourself, you behave, you speak. It's part of your personality. So the kind of contingency which you're talking about, you don't say, this is me and that's the Indian state. Now you are, there's no line there. I mean, it's kind of part of you. So what happens is the two go very smoothly in step. So if you go, for example, say to a new country, at one level, you can say it's you personally. You are trying to learn the language, you are trying to understand the culture, you are making friends, you are trying to create a network. And you have to do all this very, very quickly, because the public or your profession will not wait, doesn't give you that comfort time. The moment you arrive at any embassy or any consulate, they think you are an expert from day one, even though you are desperately reading up and studying up and trying to get a grip on what it is about. But you are doing it in a way for yourself, but at the same time, you're part of a team, you're part of a collective, and you are advancing that collective. So I think it's again, I'm describing you, because you asked me, I'm giving you, the diplomatic profession. But I would say, as a general viewpoint, it's actually part of a team building psyche. That good teams are those teams where you don't think this is me and that's the team. It's the team is you, you are the team. It's like, it's just natural thereafter. I think the hands are up more.
Yeah.
Good morning, sir. My name is Vaibhav Shresht. I am doing my Bachelor's of Engineering in Computer Sciences from BITS Pilani Dubai campus. And I'm from Delhi, basically. So, sir, in this era of rapidly advancing technologies, what is the steps that we are taking as a state of India to, to ensure the cyber security and to navigate the challenges and the opportunities which are presented by the technologies present?
This, in a way, is probably one of the most difficult issues that the world is facing. And the world is facing this difficult issue because each one of us, by nature of our existence, we are today walking emitters of information about ourselves. That, how we all walk now? We all walk like this. Because all the time we are doing this. And all the time we are doing this, we are saying, there is information, everything you are looking at, everything you are reading, everything you are sending, everything you are buying is information, is some choice, some interest, some part of your personality which is being expressed out there. Now, what it has also done is, it has erased, that sense of that is the world outside and this is my home or my country or my society. Today, a lot of what we say doesn't, there's no national boundary to what you have just searched on your phone, So it is to, and this is actually, the big change which awaits all of us is actually this era of artificial intelligence. And this era of artificial intelligence is created by all of us, because we have put our thoughts out there for other people to gather and harness and deploy. So I would say today the whole issue of privacy, of security, of strategy, of deploying it and monetizing it, these are actually going to be the big debates of our era. And it's an era which therefore will require, an India to be more competitive, to have, to be prepared for it. And it's actually one era which gives me a lot of hope, because when I look, for example, at how Indians have today embraced technology. And it's amazing. You go to what are developed countries and you find what are very common practices in India. Where, we were the country where people used to pay in cash and hesitated to even have a card. Today, we are the country which takes out a phone and does the QR code. If you look today at cashless transactions, we are doing about 10 to 11 billion a month. The US does about the US does 3 billion a year. Okay? I mean, in terms of the UPI, the cashless transaction, we are way, way ahead of everybody else. And to me that, and in fact, when I was telling you about all these programs, one of the reasons these programs are working is because they're all digitized. That today, who's beneficiary of a house, who's eligible to a gas cylinder, you know, whose bank account should money be transferred? How does it happen? It happens because we have got, I mean, in the most remote area, you know, I'm, as some of you may know, I'm elected to the Rajya Sabha from Gujarat, okay? And we all get, you know, some district, some places where we focus on for development. So the place which I have been linked to is actually what's called an aspirational district called Narmada. It's a very remote place. I mean, it's a remote place with a large tribal population. But you see today what the penetration of technology is out there, and how it has made people, you know, how quickly people have taken to it. So I can see digital is in many ways going to be our future. I mean, this is the pathway by which actually Viksit Bharat is going to be built. But digital will come, like everything, with its challenges. Cyber security will be one, data privacy will be another. How do you establish guardrails for artificial intelligence? That will be another one. There's, in fact, we have a very important conference coming up in India just a few days from now on the subject. So this is very much a subject for the future.
Good morning, sir. I am here representing Amity University, Dubai. And my question to you would be, you as an MP in Rajya Sabha from Gujarat constituency, as you have mentioned, and our Prime Minister as well as our Home Minister, they are also from the Gujarat constituency.
Right.
So how do you feel surrounded by lots of Gujarati people?
Oh, I like it. I like it. You know, it's for me quite interesting because in India, everybody has some friends from every part of India. Okay, so obviously growing up at various stages of my life, we too had families from Gujarat in some way or the other with whom we had family connections. But once I got elected as an, when I went there for election, and after that I go there obviously more often than I go to any other state of India, I find them actually very, for me, a very natural fit, because one, Gujaratis are probably the most global of all Indians. They're very, there's nothing which they're not willing to there's a certain, what would I say, a certain confidence and a certain attitude about them. That they are people, I mean, at a time when actually, India itself had less resources and people didn't have all the conveniences that we have today. There were people who in much tougher circumstances went all over the world, created a global footprint. And there's also a very strong community feeling, among them. Everybody has it in India, but I think Gujaratis have it particularly strongly, in a good way. So I would say it's natural that the foreign minister should also be elected by the state of Gujarat.
Thank you, Dr. Jayashankar. This has been an absolute honor. I'm an alum of IIT and IAM from the 80s, and worked in India, worked outside. But my question is very simple. I believe everything you've said is so good. If I were to underpin this with the central idea, it's actually the world is becoming a preserve of knowledgeable minds, whichever shape or form it is. And if it is indeed knowledgeable minds, and we have the right leadership, which our leader has done, in terms of amplifying the idea of strong India, and of course all the initiatives you have of accelerating them, I think the next challenge is of democratizing this in the minds and hearts of everyone, not just every Indian in the world, but also of people around the world to realize the power of India. And I say this because as products of excellent education from India, when we've been able to go out and do so well, how does the government, how do yourselves and the leaders look at the role of Indian institutions going overseas, just like the US institutions have done so ably and built international standards and strategies and own the minds of knowledgeable people to their advantage. So that, isn't that the time where the Chinese whispers against us gets replaced with Indian whispers in our favor?
You know, it's an interesting question, and it's a question which I think many of you should have a stake in that answer. The process actually of Indian institutions going abroad has started. I mean, many of you are products currently of these institutions. I think it will pick up steam. You know, we have an agreement for the first IIT in UAE. We have set up an IIT in Tanzania, in Zanzibar. We have many other, you know, private institutions have had more freedom here. But I envisage a situation, you know, under the new education policy, where there would be much greater this, you know, in and out, you know, foreign universities finding, you know, in some appropriate way, because it has to work for both sides, you know, because at the end of the day, the purpose is a kind of a development education purpose. It is not a business purpose, you know, and so but it cannot be without its business underpinning either. So how to get that balance right? But I do envisage a situation where we will have, you know, more and more Indian institutions going out, and in its own way, more foreign institutions finding collaborative ways of coming into India. And I think that kind of internationalization is good for India. You know, I mean, today when I travel around India, the one message I tell everybody, saying take an interest in the world. Take an interest in the world, because whether you like it or not, the world is going to make a difference in your lives. After all, COVID came from the world somewhere. It took over your life. You know, you may have a conflict. Today there is tension in this region. Tomorrow oil prices can go up. You know, it could be, for many countries, it could be food, it could be health, it could be the daily necessities of life. It could be the quality of your life. But what is happening in the world? It could even be climate. That, you know, a climate event has happened somewhere in the world and your life can be affected. So the more interconnected we get, I mean, we spoke about how digital we are getting. We are also getting more interconnected and interpenetrative and interdependent. So that kind of a world which is going to impact our daily life. So to me, foreign policy is not for me. Foreign policy is for all of you. That your lives will be shaped very much by what is happening in the world. And those of you who have the privilege, the experience, the possibility of actually experiencing the world, you should actually be at the cutting edge of that appreciation and spread it, you know, amongst yourself and also to people you know in India. So with that, I think I have a plane to catch. So once again, I want to say it's been really a great pleasure to meet all of you.
Thank you very much, sir, for sharing your thoughts. Yes. Yes, sir. So we'll have a group photograph with the Honorable Minister. So I'll just request you to come in groups, starting with the alums of IIMs and IITs. Minister will be on the dais. Half of you can be on the dais, the other half can be on the ground. We'll start with IIMs, and please organize yourself. We'll continue with BITS Pilani, then Manipal, Amity, and Skyline. So one by one, just organize yourself and please come up.